welcome to episode number 35 of the T-Spin Podcast, the only weekly discussion podcast created for and by lovers of all things tea. As you know, I am Daryl, the resident Tetris addict, and with me this week, our favorite tea drinker, Kevin. What kind of tea are you having lately?
You know what? I gotta tell you, there is a new kombucha flavor that I just had not too long ago. It is vanilla oak, and it is awesome. As awesome as the accent, and it's just amazing.
Sounds fantastic, and we will absolutely dive real deep into that later on in this episode.
I hope so.
Also, look forward to we're finally getting around to reviewing Earl Grey, so that's going to be pretty cool.
Hey, that's nice flavor. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a definite 8 out of 10 for me. But also with us this week is our resident professional golfer, Sergio. Have you been hitting the tees lately?
Looking forward to it actually. On hopefully, Mario Golf on the Switch. That'll be amazing.
There you go. What's your handicap lately? It's like a -15, right? All right. Obviously, I'm kidding. We are the Nintendo Jump Podcast. It is the week of February 18th. Everything we just said, I don't know, it's actually kind of true. But more importantly, Kevin, what are we talking about today?
Well, shout out to kombucha. What I drank was true. With that being said, okay, I'm going to get serious right now. We have a discussion about the games we've been playing and some listener mail. Very simple. Let's get to it. Daryl, what is one game out of your bunch of games that you've been playing recently?
Yeah, so as I was planning for this episode, I wrote down 6, and I'm like, oh,
dang,
that's not good. But I'm gonna start with one that you're actually gonna be happy about. I'm gonna start with Final Fantasy IX.
Awesome.
Yeah. So as I mentioned in last episode, I was not lying. I did buy it right after the direct. I thought about it briefly, and then I was like, yeah, for sure.
You thought about it for 9 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much.
Great time.
And so I picked it up, and I gotta say, I'm only probably about 4 or 5 hours into it. So obviously, I'm kind of scratching the surface at this point. But I gotta say, it feels nice to play an RPG that like starts out honestly with a bang. Like it's I found it like surprisingly funny and charming. The way it kind of starts out, and it kind of shifts your focus between multiple of the main characters starting out. I loved that, and I really liked how they've kind of set the story thus far. Like the characters' motivations are, as of right now, fairly simple. I don't know exactly how deep this is going to get, but honestly, I it's really compelling to me, and this is something that I did pick up Tales of Vesperia, and I've played a few other RPGs here and there, and this is notably Battle Chasers Night War was among them too. This is something that I've been kind of lacking with RPGs lately, in that they just start so slow. And I understand that that's kind of a concept in the genre, right? But I'm also kind of spoiled in terms of, I grew up with Final Fantasy IV, which literally starts out with an attack on the mage city, and then you're traveling through caves with your best friend to go unknowingly plant a bomb in another town. Like it starts out really, really strong. So I find lately I just don't have that much patience for games that I'm like, what are you doing? Like what's the point of it? Okay, 5 hours in and I'm fetching things for people. Oh, okay, it's a little bit slow to me. I'm really, really on the fence about Tales of Vesperia. Unfortunately, I'm considering trying to just like force my way through it, but I was wondering, is this just how RPGs are to me now? And honestly, picking up Final Fantasy has kind of changed my mind on that, because like I said, it started out, I keep wanting to play more of it, and that's an excellent sign.
I would think that more RPGs would follow that sort of, start off with a bang type of formula, because Final Fantasies overall have been very consistent with that sort of initial impression, and I think that's what really drove me in when I first started playing Final Fantasy IX a long time ago, and like it still holds up to this day. And I'm really happy to hear that you've been enjoying it And with that being said, who's who is like who's the most impressionable character so far? Even though you only played 4 or 5 hours, like which character just sticks out to you? Like wow, like that is dope.
So honestly, I mean, yeah, I'm way too early. Early on in the game, I really like Steiner. I really,
Mm.
really do because he's hilarious. Also, I do like Garnet. I snapped a couple pictures of the scenes where she's literally asking Zidane to kidnap her. And
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know, that was like surprisingly poignant to me for a little bit. You know, she is this princess who's trying to escape her life, or her role, I guess. And Zidane and his companions are honestly, I guess, thieves, and they were trying to kidnap her anyway. And then they run into each other, and she wants to leave. So that was just an interesting
It
little
worked out.
segment. And then Steiner is running around trying to stop everything from happening and just being hilarious in the process. So yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to really say exactly where it's going to go.
Mhm.
But so far there's not really a character that I don't like, I'll say, and,
Okay.
and that's
Hmm.
refreshing. And like going back to the RPG thing, I actually had that a little bit with Xenoblade as well.
Hmm.
And Xenoblade 1 and 2. 1 I actually never finished because of it, just because, you know, I always get to around the knee section. I get to, you know, the Gower Plains and a little ways past that, and then I stop. I go play something else. I never go back to it. Chrono Trigger, I had that same type problem with. Xenoblade 2, I actually had that same type problem right around the time that you get to Uriah. That section really bogged down for me, but I kind of pushed through it. And man, I'm glad I did. I loved that game. But I don't know. It's a common problem, and I really wish more companies would kind of take the model of let's start this out with a cool segment. Because as is, I don't know. A lot of these games are just really hard to get into.
Yeah, and you know, I think us as gamers, especially as we get older, we even approach RPGs that way. We know they're gonna be slow starters, and we know it's like a commitment. It's gonna take a long time for us to really get into the game and to eventually complete it. And even with that mindset, we approaching the game with that mindset, and if it's still slow, you know, something can be done. And I think, like Kevin said, some developers are taking that into account and implementing, you know, better starting to the game or just grabbing you with a bang with the mechanics. You know, for Final Fantasy IX, I'm really torn. I remember
Mm.
it not being my favorite of 7, 8, 9, and 4. 9 is my least favorite. Here's the thing, though. I cannot tell you why.
And that's dang.
So I think that tells me that I gotta play it again, and I wouldn't mind. I'm thinking about it actually.
Yeah, so I missed out on every Final Fantasy after 6. So I have not. All of the ones coming to Switch, save Crystal Chronicles, which is kind of a very different game. To the point that I mostly neglect it when I'm talking about Final Fantasies.
Right.
I haven't played any of them, and so you know, obviously the hype one is 7 initially, and I I will probably play it at some point, but I'm also really not feeling the hype for that one. It might just be, you know, I've heard so much about the game at this point, you know, it's just one of those like really really over talked about games. But 9 was the one on that list that I was, you know, they announced it, they showed it off, and I was like, "Hey, I've heard about this game and it looks awesome." So, this was probably my most exciting game, and
Hmm.
it was kind of cool that this was the free drop. I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, and I think with Final Fantasy VII, I could see why you weren't as hyped about that game as opposed to Final Fantasy IX. I mean, there are some points of Final Fantasy VII where it is a bit overhyped, but at the same time, like you can't deny the stylized characters, you know, and just the whole steampunk. Well, not even steampunk, but it's more just it just feels like when it first came out in '97, it was just like wow, like it's like the modern times, you know, with all these like these tech this technology and you know and these buildings and just the way everything was stylized, and it just felt like wow, this is like a present day Final Fantasy type of game. And I think maybe some of that hype got a bit too much. I might be reaching here, but with Final Fantasy IX, I think that maybe the steampunk sort of setting really appealed to you, and as for me as well. And with Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, it it had that steampunk, relation, and so maybe that's. And I don't know if that's the reason why you are hyped for Final Fantasy 9, but at least for me, that was why.
Well, I mean, I like 9 because it's an obvious throwback to the older ones. Like,
exactly, right.
It is obviously, this is trying to be Final Fantasy, and I legitimately like the series. I have a positive opinion on what Final Fantasy actually is. So the fact that this is leaning real hard into it, like Garnet is trying to escape while dressed as a white mage from like Final Fantasy 1, and I see that and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is legit. And you hear things like the creator says this is his favorite Final Fantasy.
Exactly.
I can see why, and I can see that that's in there. Even the battle theme is kind of a riff on the classic battle theme and such. I don't know, it's cool. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'll leave it at that.
That's good. I can't wait for you to play more of the game, man. It's gonna get even better, and I'm excited for you on that. And the music is just something else. Nobuo Uematsu never ceases to amaze. I mean, just even from the get go, and later on, you'll hear this one tune called "Crossing Those Hills." Oh my goodness, it is like one of the best overworld themes I've ever heard in my life. I hands down. It's eerie, it's mysterious, but it makes you feel good, like a forest. Like, I don't know, like I compare it to something like Chrono Trigger's Secret of the Forest. Secret of the Forest. I hope that's the right name. If it's not, I apologize, but
I think it is.
It just had that same aura, and when you hear that tune, you will know what I'm talking about. So yeah. I'm excited for you in that.
So that's probably a good transition to talk about. This is the standard port of Final Fantasy IX, which apparently does come with a few bugs. Most notably, the music restarts after battles as opposed to just continuing like it did in the original game. I can see why that would annoy the heck out of somebody who had played the original, but honestly, as somebody who is new to this, I do not notice it. It doesn't bother me. I'm actually used to that, so if you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have noticed it. So no big deal for me.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because I just wanted to give y'all a heads up. I posted on the Discord with some of that just to make sure that everyone knows. And I think, but I'm glad that you're despite those bugs, you're still enjoying the game quite nicely. So man, all this talk is making me want to buy it again. I can't believe it. It is a classic, and it definitely has that charm that still exists today. Like even from because it was made like in the year 2000. So I mean, like, man, 19 years. Holy shoot! Like
visually, it holds up more than other games around that time frame. Particularly, for sure. Final Fantasy VII looks a little silly at this point.
Yes.
Final Fantasy IX artistically just it doesn't look like Wind Waker, but it has more of a Wind Waker type artistic style, which turns out holds up really well over the years. So, pretty good. Some of the textures in here and there are pretty muddy, and you kind of expect that from a PS1 game. But overall, I'm pleased with it.
Cool, good stuff. All right, well, I would like to talk about one game that I've been playing, and it was something that I alluded to from last podcast episode. It was a game that you two, knew what I was playing, but not everyone else. So that game is Horizon Chase Turbo. It is a arcade racing video game developed and published by Brazilian team Aquarius. And I apologize if I butcher name, or Aquarius Game Studio. So originally it came out in 2015 on both Android and iOS, and as Horizon Chase World Tour, and then in 2018 they revamped it to call it Horizon Chase Turbo. It's an awesome racing game, and for me, I love the games like Outrun and the Cruisin' series, like Cruisin' USA.
Nice.
And just those classics really got me going, and even Ridge Racer. I mean, even though
Ridge Racer.
There we go. Shout out to the Ridge. And it's even though it's not exactly like Ridge Racer, it does have that same spirit. Even Speed Racer too. These racing games.
Speed Race.
Shout out to the Speed Racer. It's these sort of games. I just remember playing in arcades where I just want to be able to get first place all the time, make a perfect run. Just not slide into anything dangerous or any obstacles. Like just stay on the road, dodge cars left and right. Felt like a baller. I mean, hell yeah! It was so. This game is awesome because like I said, it harkens back to those old school arcade racing games, and and it's a world tour. So you start in California, and there's some courses in there like San Francisco and Los Angeles, and then you get to go to Chile, and then Brazil, and then South Africa, and that's where I am right now. So I'm about 21% complete with the game, and yeah, so I've been playing it for about 3-4 hours now, and I love it so far. Even though there's no real-time online multiplayer, unfortunately, that is a drawback to this game. Although they do have something called Playground. It is pretty much a rotative competition that presents 5 new different races each time you play, and you pretty much can set just your best record. There's a leaderboard for both your friends and global, and it could be whether you're trying to race against others with unlimited nitro, or you're just trying to, or like time attack. And so I'm gonna just take a step back right now, give a little premise of the game. So when you start off a race, you're going against 19 other cars in the same race, and the laps could differ between 3 to 5 laps. The track itself could be windy. There's hairpin turns. There's all the hairpins, and just it. And although there's no drifting, you can turn just enough to keep yourself on the track. You just have to dodge cars. The difficulty does pace very well, honestly, and so far I've been having a great time with it. Although there were a few times where I had to restart in the middle of the race because I want to get a perfect score. Perfect score meaning that I want to get first place. I want to get all the blue coins because all the blue coins will give you bonus points that convert into gold coins, and these gold coins allow you to earn new cars. And
we Mario Sunshine now.
Yeah. Shout out to the Sunshine. And it is just, if you want to be the person to get the high score, to get all the cars, and to just be able to really go through all these tracks with as perfect as you can, this is the game for you. It's not as stressful as you might think. The difficulty is paced very well, so you're gonna have a good time, and you get to, you get to show off your stuff. I mean, just by yourself. I mean, if you're just practicing. I don't know where I was going with that, but no, it's an interesting feeling. Like I just feel like I'm. As I keep playing with the game, I feel like I'm learning more about when to use the nitro, because in real life racing, you want to accelerate out of the turn, and so there are times where I would use the nitro while I'm turning and still keeping that nice turn into the curve and being able to just keep going and accelerate out of the turn and pass all these cars and get first place. I mean, there's a very nice feeling with this game, and the graphics, very polygonal, and it just looks stunning. I typically play it in tabletop mode, sometimes in docked, but usually tabletop mode, and a bit of handheld. So overall, I can't ask for more, other than I'm wishing there was a real-time online multiplayer mode, but there is split-screen multiplayer, so that is a
nice
good thing to have, and you can bring it over with your friends and do a couch race and all that. So, that's the game. Horizon Chase Turbo. Cool name, cool game, cool tracks, cool cars. A lot of cool in this game. Shout out to the cool.
I like the art style a lot. It's very stylized, kind of extremely colorful, and I like the way it looks. So when you started mentioning it, I hadn't heard of it, which was my bad. But I looked up reviews and such. It's really highly reviewed. Like, you are not alone in hyping this game for sure. Like a lot of people really like it, and you know there was a time that Ridge Racer was
Yeah.
kind of coming out like every year. Like there were
Right.
a ton
Yeah.
of them. I remember that was one of my early titles for the DS. I think was the last one I played. So I mean, you kind of couldn't throw a rock without hitting a Ridge Racer game, but at this point, it's been a little bit. Like you know, I think there's definitely space in the market for kind of an arcadey type racer. It's nice to see.
Absolutely. And, you know, just as you mentioned, like the presentation of this game is just very solid. And I think the music itself as well, like it just gets you upbeat. Now, for me, typically I don't like to listen to a whole lot of upbeat music on my free time, but you know, not a whole lot.
Only
I'm more of a-
downers here.
Only okay, hold on. You know, shout out to mellow music. Okay, I love listening to more chill, mellow music. 65% of the time, I don't know why I said that number, but it's, okay, 65% of the time.
67% actually.
Yeah, okay, fine. You know, I can't do math. 2/3. 2/3 of the time, I like to listen to chill music, like atmospheric hip hop and all of that, which we can get into sometime later in the Discord. But okay, so the music here, it's decently upbeat. It gets you going. I feel engaged, and it just makes you want to race more. And I think it's a very solid game. Right now, given the 3 to 4 hours I've been playing, it's a solid 8.5 out of 10 for me so far. So
Nice.
I like it a lot, and I like the fact that it's a world tour kind of thing. I get to see different, sort of atmospheres and environments in different cities, with the stylized graphics and all that. So it's a good pickup for $20 too. Not too bad. I would pick it up if I were you.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it'll be kind of on my list to just just to kind of keep my eye on if it goes on sale or something. I would definitely pick it up. As I did mention, I just listed 6 games that I've been playing, so probably not on the immediate term, but it does definitely look intriguing.
For sure. Good stuff, man. Okay, well, Sergio, what games have you been playing as of late?
As of late, other than Rocket League, there's actually one more game this week, which is pretty surprising even for me.
Ooh.
Oh, what
So
is
I've been playing a good amount of Tetris 99.
Yes.
it? Yes. Very good.
And this is the reason I only have 4 hours in Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah.
Daryl, I believe you got first place a couple of times, right? Probably a bunch of times by now.
I have 4 of them now.
Nice.
I'm rather happy about that, yeah.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
No, that's great. I mean, like, how do you do the T-spins and all that? Like, what is your strategy in Tetris 99? Or I guess we can, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. I drop pieces and I try to clear lines, and I just try to keep up with that before the pieces drop too fast that I can't clear lines anymore.
Oh, so that's how you play.
That's
Dang.
the way.
I've been playing all wrong then.
No, typically I am. This game has made me actually look up like actual Tetris strategies, and I haven't bent my mind around that yet. My strategy has always been, the one block on the right side, and you're just building up your fortress on the rest of the field, and then every time I get a long block, drop a Tetris, and then from time to time I can run some combos off. But it's not. I am not, despite this being the T-Spin podcast, I am not much of a T-Spinner. I am not really much of a combo player. I'm trying to get better at that. I'm sure there's people out there who could teach me. But I don't know. I love it. So Sergio, obviously this is your game. What do you think about it?
No, it's pretty cool. And honestly, the reason I play it is because I can play it listening to my own music and still do
Oh,
okay.
no.
So the best place I got in is 10th place. But
Yeah, that's not bad.
I want to keep
Pretty decent,
going,
yeah.
I hadn't played Tetris since the Puyo Puyo and Tetris combo that came out on the Switch on launch. So it's been a while. I'm pretty happy with 10th place, but yeah, I definitely want to keep going. I want to see if I'm gonna start learning about the T-spins, but it looks so complicated and so time consuming that it's gonna take me a whole match to try to do one, and then I'll lose.
Well, it's like Even playing, like, I've been trying, like, there's a 4 wide strategy that you leave a gap of 4 blocks, and apparently that helps you with combos and such. I kind of get it, but trying to set up for that just, like, takes me all match, and then by that point I just get drowned in garbage. I'm like, well, okay, I like 60th place. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of the same where, I'm just going to build up the fortress on the left or right and, excuse me, and just be able to get ready for the Tetrises or the 4-line clears and, be able to get those as fast as possible and try to direct it to someone who's about to lose in the other 99 or whoever's remaining. So that's usually my strategy, and just trying to be as fast as possible because this is a game about speed and accuracy. You gotta do both well, and it's hard to get number 1. I mean, you gotta be pretty much near perfect at times. A little luck is involved, but at the same time, man, I think it's a pretty awesome game that is free. Well, granted that you have Nintendo Switch Online, and yeah, I remember that day I played for like 3 hours straight. I was like, man, I gotta get number 1. Oh, so close,
dude.
though.
I'm sitting at 10 hours in this game, and I'm like, oh man, like this is starting to actually become more than just kind of a sidetrack. Like, this might be my favorite battle royale game now, and it probably is, and it's definitely suffering from that just one more game feeling, because you're like, oh man, I just got 6th, but I could have gotten 1st, and you start it over again. It's ridiculous. Like, one thing I do really like, and Sergio, I would recommend listening to the in-game audio from time to time, because once it hits top 10, the amount of stress that this game can apply with, like, the pumping the beats a little bit and making the pieces drop really fast. Like, it actually, like, the top 10 music is literally Flight of the Bumblebee. Like, that one. It's a remix of that while you're dropping pieces at a extremely alarming rate.
It's intense. Oh my goodness.
Amazing. This is one of those games that I've been recommending to people who I know have Switch and the online service, but are kind of more the old school gamers, just because everybody who's played games for a little bit knows what Tetris is, kind of knows how to play Tetris. And I've seen some tweets lately that made me laugh, that it kind of feels like there have been people who have been training for this game their entire life. Like, you've got, like, Gamer Mom 42 is, like, wrecking people on Tetris now. So
whoa.
I don't know. It's of all the things, like, Nintendo was talking a lot about, we want to come up with new ways to, incentivize the online service and such. And, if this is what they came up with in some boardroom or something like that, the future looks really bright to me.
Yes.
Like, this is just, like, I was kind of talking about it, and when I talk about this game, I kind of get in this almost sarcastic voice and such, and I kind of realized that, but none of this is sarcasm. I think this game is hilarious. I think it's really funny, because you're like, some games you go along and you get really far and you do really well and such, and then you'll start another game and, like, 12 people will target you, and you'll have, like, a full screen of garbage in about 30 seconds, and you're like, oh
my goodness, that is
okay. This is fine. It's just, I love it. I really, really enjoy this game. Like, unironically, I really like it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of fun, very addictive, and that's how it is now. We know that it's getting additional modes. I believe there's even one that's gonna allow people to play with their friends together. So
that's gonna be awesome.
A ton of fun. Yeah,
that
Team
is literally
battle.
gonna be a game changer for me. if you can just kind of start a match and then have your friends, like, join in, even if you can add randoms or whatever. But if you can actually do, like, Tetris against as many people as are around, that would be so much fun. And you got to figure, everybody who has a Switch and the online service will have this game, so it's one of those that there will be a lot of people who have the ability to play. So especially on things like our Discord and such, this is going to be a lot of fun if that actually does drop in the near future. I think I'm done with that one, unless anybody has anything else. It may be sitting at my game of the year right now. It very well might be.
That is a bold statement. I mean, it's a very addicting game, and they did a good job just constructing the whole battle royale theme. So, man, did not expect that during the direct. I mean, it was like, whew,
No.
yeah.
Well, and even when they showed it, I was like, oh, that looks stupid. That cool, I'll download that now. I had no idea how much fun this was going to be. It really is. It's more fun than I expected it to be, which is nice. It was a very pleasant surprise coming out of that direct.
For sure. Well, all of us have played Tetris 99, and Daryl, I know you have some games that you want to talk about, but I'm going to ask you this. What is one game that you just wanted to get into and wanted to play more, but because of Final Fantasy 9, you're like, oh gosh, I got to play Final Fantasy 9, but then maybe later on you'll play this game more. What is that game out of your 6?
That's a very specific question there. No, like I said, Tetris is all consuming right now. I actually started playing Guacamelee 2, which is awesome. It's really good. I did not get far enough to really talk about it, so I'm going to kind of skip that one, but that would definitely be the game that kind of fulfills that criteria. That I started playing it a couple days before the direct, got a little bit into the game, and then the direct hit, and Tetris has taken me. But there is one more game. I'll save the rest for later. There's one more game I actually do want to talk about because I mentioned it on the show before, and that is Dragon Marked for Death. So I did end up picking it up, kind of like I hinted I was planning on in the last episode. I was a little vocal about being disappointed that Wargroove kind of stole its thunder a little bit, and having played it now, I'm even like more disappointed by that because this game is awesome, and it got extremely mixed reviews, and I am not to the point of having beaten it or anything like that, and I can kind of see it, but I have had nothing but fun with this game. And just a couple recommendations. So Dragon Marked for Death is made by Inti Creates, who made the Mega Man Zero games, Azure Striker, Gunvolt, a bunch of really good games. And it definitely plays like one of those. It plays very much like a Mega Man Zero game, albeit with Monster Hunter style missions, gear upgrades, that kind of thing. The actual gameplay loop is very much Monster Hunter, which I didn't really know the extent of getting into it, but it's really well done, and it feels pretty familiar there. The reason I'm saying all this, so the game kind of plays like Mega Man Zero, but it's very, very balanced and focused and kind of designed with respect to multiplayer. So this is very much intended to be a multiplayer game, and that with that in mind, I have not played it single player, and I know people who have, who are kind of lukewarm on the game and actually actively don't like it. The people who are kind of running it single player only. So I'm thinking that is a big takeaway, is that if you want to play this game as a single player only game, maybe not the best fit. But there's a few people in our Discord who actually picked it up as well, and I've been playing with all of them. Shout outs to Dragon, G.I. Jello, Swaddle, and Sonic King. And every time I have played multiplayer, with the exception of one time that we were having some weird connection issues, it has been a blast, like an absolute blast. Some of the most fun I've had this year, seriously. So I kind of wanted to just touch on that a little bit and just say I did end up picking up the game. Definitely would recommend it if you do have some multiplayer. I would personally recommend, there's 2 different packs, and each pack comes with 2 characters. One comes with the Warrior and the Empress. The other one comes with the Shinobi and the Witch. Very specifically, the Empress kind of feels and plays like Zero from the Mega Man Zero games, like really, really similar. So that's the one I kind of recommend to people if you're going to give the game a shot. She feels pretty familiar. But each pack is $15. I would recommend grabbing one pack, playing with people, see if you like it. It's a fairly low price commitment there for what I think has been a really fun time at the moment. So I think that's what I'll say on that one.
Nice. I'm curious. So you mentioned that this is mostly, well, it's basically better in multiplayer, and I'm wondering if it's because it's more like Monster Hunter instead of Mega Man X, because those Mega Man games are mostly for single player, so there's really not a lot of platforming here.
There's a surprising amount, to be honest. So specifically, the Shinobi has the ability to do like double jumps and glides and wall climbs and things like that.
Oh,
The Empress
cool.
has a grapple hook, kind of similar to Bionic Commando a little bit.
ooh.
But no wall climb, no double jump, that kind of thing. And then the witch has her own little movement things, and the the poor warrior pretty much just has a jump. But what you find is that the levels are laid out to kind of smartly separate the players. Like they don't have to stay in the same area with each other.
Mm.
So like if you get somebody who's kind of like-minded with you, and you can kind of just blaze through the stages and like take these branching paths, take the paths that make more sense for your character. You're actively looking for treasure as you go. So, and when one person finds a treasure, everybody gets it. So that's kind of nice.
Nice.
Awesome.
So what I found really interesting was that, you know, I was playing with a couple people just in you know, just the two of us playing a mission, and we would take different paths, and then like the paths would converge, and you'd kind of have this like you're obviously playing together, but you're doing your own thing, but then you'll come together and beat up this guy and then go do your own thing again. And to me that loop is just really interesting. Like it's really cool to be in the same plane, helping each other, but also kind of having your own little adventures in here, but then meeting back for the boss and things like that. I don't have many bad things to say about it. I really don't. The main reason I could see it being a little bit more frustrating in single player is that a lot of the enemies are really damage spongy. Like they take a lot of hits and stuff, and some of the character movements are really slow. Like if you were to try to solo this game as the warrior, his attacks are super slow. So that would be a little bit painful, but he's also the guy who has a shield that heals the party, right? So it's a trade-off. I think it's definitely meant to be a party multiplayer game, so that's exactly how I've been playing it, and I've been extremely happy with it personally.
You know, I think with the single player, maybe they can add. A suggestion would be for me would be like maybe they can add some sort of AI, like a AI that can help your character. I'm trying to think of games that have done that well in the past. I can't think of one right now, but except I can't think of one crappy game that wasn't as good. It was an X-Men game on NES, and I mean, when you had when you had Cyclops as your companion as an AI, I mean, he was just terrible. He just kept shooting one way, and you're just not able to progress through the level. It's like, holy shoot, why is this even a thing? And so maybe they could do something like that for single player. I don't know. Not in the same.
Well, with that description, yeah, sign me up. Actually, you know what? Let's just get the license. Let's put Cyclops in there. That'd be fun.
No, I'm just saying. Shout out to X-Men. But, you know, and how's the story, the lore in Mark for Death? Like, is it...
The lore is fantastic. The story, I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
Because all of the missions are kind of like... kind of isolated a little bit. Like you are going on a mission to exterminate this, or to go find this treasure, or to do XYZ, whatever. But the lore is that basically you're this shunned group of people who are kind of linked to the dragon, and you can kind of use his powers. That's why they all have like special abilities and such. And I think that's actually, it's fairly dark. It's pretty deep. And I think it ties in pretty well to what I've played so far.
Mm-hmm.
As far as actual story, I don't know. We'll find out.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, it seems like a pretty solid game for multiplayer. And oh man, dang, Dragon's Mark for Death. I mean, did you buy both packs? Or,
no. I was testing it out with the Warrior and the Empress. I have continually thought about getting the other pack, but I just haven't yet.
Regardless of which pack you get, you still play the same sort of levels. Is that right? Or
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and just every character has their own weapon progression and such like that. Okay. But it's pretty simple in that, like, there's really, for the most part, there's really not. You don't like learn new moves or things as you go. You just upgrade your equipment and keep kind of doing the same thing. So I can see it being a little repetitive, I should say. Mm-hmm. Again, kind of leaning into that Monster Hunter thing. You know, Monster Hunter is slightly repetitive as it is. Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's not a bad thing. You know, it just there's definitely a time and place for that kind of game too. So,
right.
It looks pretty awesome. It seems that the game kind of went under the radar while it was, you know, on its way. Then it got talked about again, came out pretty soon thereafter, and now it's out. And yeah, it looks pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely spend $15 worse. I think, as a single player experience, you probably would prioritize something like Hollow Knight or Undertale over it. But other than that, I mean, for $15, that's pretty cheap to get in on a game that you might be able to play online with people and have some fun.
No, that's good. That's a good price point actually, especially for this type of game. And yeah, I gonna grow that backlog again, or my wish list. But anyway, cool. Well, those are the games that we've been playing, and now we're gonna get into our listener mail. Yeah, so we got some we got some questions coming your way. I'm gonna start off with one. I know Daryl will like this one. It's from his wife, so shout out to Beckzilla. I'm gonna ask you, Daryl. So, what is the first game you remember playing on a home console? Do you think this game has had a huge impact on you as a gamer?
So, yeah, this question, I had some time to think about this. I'm having trouble remembering what exactly the first game was because, again, my dad had an NES. We had a ton of games, and they're all kind of melded together a little bit. But I gotta say, the ones that I think of when I am thinking, they have really fond memories, and I'm gonna go back to a conversation I had earlier. One of them is Final Fantasy. The original Final Fantasy
Nice.
was definitely a large part of my my childhood. I remember very specifically that game was a little grindy. Like you had to grind up your characters, otherwise you'd have no chance. But the characters were really cool. It really set kind of the groundwork for what the series was going to be. You got the warrior and the black mage and white mage and monks and stuff. But I remember my dad, so he was working nights at the time, and I would be playing the game, and then he would come home from work way early in the morning before we even woke up, and he would grind my characters a little bit.
Whoa, that's cool.
So and I knew he was doing it. It wasn't any kind of like mystery or anything, but I'd wake up and my characters would all be like 15 levels higher, and that was actually how I eventually beat that game. Now, at the point that I was beating that game, that was not that was not when I first played it, but that the music still really sits with me. I can't hear some of the songs from that game without getting a smile on my face. So that's definitely one of them. Another one I want to mention for sure is Zelda 2, Link's Awakening.
Yes.
Or
Nice.
Link's Awakening. Link's Adventure. Link's Awakening is a completely different game. Adventure of Link. So that game, the title screen music is just utterly phenomenal. I remember playing that game. I did not beat it until much, much later. Like when I was in like college, I eventually played it again and ended up beating it. But I remember my dad beating it. It's one of my first memories. Actually, I remember what it was like when he's fighting against, spoilers of a very old game, fighting against Shadow Link at the end and getting the Triforce at the very end. I remember all of it pretty vividly. So that's definitely up there in my list. And again, I just mentioned another game that's still way high on my list of important games. So, as far as shaped me. And the last one I want to say is probably Mega Man 2. Just, again, very specifically, remember that. Remember the music from it. Remember the gameplay. Probably one of the first games I beat somehow. I have no idea how that happened. But, yeah, just awesome game for reasons that everyone knows already. So, probably those three are one of them is likely at least one of my first games I ever played, and all three would still be kind of near and dear to my heart.
Nice.
No, those are really good choices, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's these kind of moments that you have, and especially with your dad, like who is also a very prominent gamer like yourself, and it's good to hear. And I mean, the nostalgia just hits really hard to home, and it's always nice to hear about that. And Sergio, you're next. Same question? Go for it.
So I know for a fact that the games that I remember the most are not exactly the ones I first played when I got my NES. I got it with Super Mario Brothers, the first one, the original, and I don't really remember playing that one. Actually, I know for sure as soon as I got Mario 3, I played that one way more. And I remember that game a lot, just showing me the magic, the whimsy of video games, and playing the levels, discovering different routes, and just having a ton of fun. Even just showing other people how to play, letting them go at the controller, and yeah, for sure Mario 3. But one that actually stands out to me even more than that is the original Kung Fu.
Oh, I played that game a
Yeah.
lot.
Dang.
I remember it a lot, and I think the reason why, and the special reason why I still feel somewhat connected to that game is because it was really challenging.
Yeah.
I guess even more so at that age. I was around 4 or 5, and I remember telling myself, you can beat this. There's another floor above. Keep going. And I always remember this game being very challenging, but also sort of inspiring me to keep going, to try harder, to get to the next floor, to get to the next level. So whenever I think of the NES, I think of that game for sure, like first.
That's hilarious. I haven't heard anybody talk about that game in a very long time. Like low key, it was one of my favorite games to play. Just I don't know. It was just so silly. Like the whole thing was silly. Like the little dudes that would come up and like be really annoying and such. A good game. If you haven't checked out Kung Fu, please at least give it a look. It's really funny.
Definitely. Yeah, and again, thank you, Sergio, for sharing that. I mean, I share the same sentiments with Super Mario Bros. 3. When I started playing it, like when I was, I think, 3 or 4, I just remember some of the things. Like, I think I mentioned before how I was very intimidated by the hills having eyes, and I didn't know I didn't know if that was an actual thing. It turns out it's not. Hopefully,
is that so? That's actually a true thing. I mean, you've mentioned that a couple things, but you were actually scared of the little dots on the hills in the background.
Yeah, because it was just like, man, like why?
Oh
are they,
wow,
like, watching
okay.
me? Yeah, it was.
I always just thought you were joking. I'm sorry.
No. No jokes. No jokes here.
Joe, no.
I was. For a moment, I was trying to think of how to say it like that, but
Nokes?
Nokes.
I'm sorry to everyone listening.
I need to step away from it. No, I'm back, but Nokes. All right. Put that in the book, but
that's going in the hashtags for this one for sure.
There we go. And that and the angry sun. Do you remember the angry sun?
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking like, why is it so angry? Why is it chasing me down? And I thought maybe I could touch it, and I touched it, and I died. I'm like, okay, well, guess it's not.
Well, I mean,
not a good decision.
in your defense, I mean, we have a lot of experience touching suns and having good experiences. So hey.
Yeah, I mean, it's oh man, but I just remember I have this very clear memory of me playing World 2, the desert levels, when I was 4, and I would just sit. Not 5 feet away. I was literally like probably 3 feet away from the TV, and I just like
that's about as long as the cord was.
Pretty much, right? And I was like, whoa! And I was just playing, and then I would take a break every now and then, and go over to where my parents were watching Chinese channels on the TV. And then I was bored after like 5 minutes, and I just went back. Just went back to playing Super Mario Bros. 3. But now I did mention before that my mom taught me how to play video games, and I cannot remember the moments I played Super Mario Bros. 1, so I'm not going to use that. But the one game that definitely had a huge impact on me as a gamer, one of the games is Super Mario Kart, and like it just really gave me that sense of like, okay, well, it's not about having, and I've mentioned this before, it's not about having a hero or a villain. It's just like a bunch of characters trying to race with that look kind of wacky, cartoony, and just or I guess just they're just very stylized in the way where it's it's charming, and they throw bananas and shells, and like I didn't even know the concept before, but I really like the Mode 7 like look of it back in the day. It's just and the music too. The music stuck with me for the longest time. I mean, I mentioned Choco Island 1. Okay, that's like one of my favorite pieces of music, and that paved the way for me to, just appreciating those sort of games. Racing games will always have a special place in my heart, especially arcadey racing games like Super Mario Kart. It's just a bunch of fun, and even though I play it a lot on my own, like I just try to keep getting better. And in fact, now I don't have it with me right now, but I have it at work. I have this Pearl, Perle, this like sort of art thing that has a stand, and it actually has a picture. It's Koopa Troopa. It's Koopa Troopa in his cart, from Super Mario Kart. I'll definitely show it to y'all in the Discord, so keep on the lookout for that. Or I can actually post it on our next post on Instagram. But it makes, and it's actually, that was the first character I used when I first started playing that game. So that's why I got that one on Etsy. I don't remember the seller, but if I do, I'll definitely link it to y'all. But yeah, it was just really nice. And then when you start playing more Super Mario Kart, you start to get better with it, and you use characters like Bowser and Donkey Kong. Those are the top heavy, slow acceleration but top speed characters. And I had a lot of fun with those. I just had a lot of fun with all the characters. I mean, because it was just nice to. Everybody is different. The way they sort of, I guess drift. I mean, 'cause you can't really do a boost in Super Mario Kart.
Oh, but they feel a lot different.
They do, yeah. And I still love that feeling, and of just being able to slide a little bit and try to get your bearings on the course. The counter steering and all that. And I just really enjoyed it. And Donut Plains, Mushroom Kingdom, or I cannot believe is it Mushroom Kingdom the first course? No, it's like mushroom something.
Circuit.
Sorry, yeah,
Circuit,
Mushroom
right?
Circuit. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Yeah, there was no castle there, so yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, and just in Koopa Troopa Beach, I mean, and there's the battle mode. The battle mode was nice, and like even though it's an old game back in the day, like I still cherish it to this day, and it definitely has a huge impact on me as a gamer.
Still among the best battle modes in Mario Kart. It's
Yes.
a really good one. Like,
It is
really,
yeah.
really good.
It is just extremely well done, and
For that to be
yeah.
kind of an innovative thing at the time, like there wasn't that much like that, even in terms of like 3D multiplayer battle things. That it's almost kind of a tank game at that point. Pretty interesting.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much, and that's the game. And
Nice.
speaking of games, we got one from Shell Shock. What are your first 20 games for the SNES Online on Switch? Now, 20 games for each of us is going to be a lot, so we're going to break it down. We're going to just do the first 5 games. And Sergio, I'm going to start with you. Lieutenant Serge, what are your first 5 games that you would want?
My very first choice, and I'm just assuming that I'm actually able to get it, is Tetris Attack. If I can't get that, I'll get that one, and I'm done. I relinquish my other 4 choices.
I have never respected you more than at this moment.
That is awesome. Holy shoot.
Oh, I just love the formula, and I just don't know why we don't get more of these games.
Oh man, and you look at the context of the questions, SNES Online, like all of a sudden you have online Tetris. Oh my,
Yo,
yeah, that would replace
dope.
Tetris for me. That would do it.
Yes.
Wow.
Good stuff.
All right, I'm easy. Super Metroid.
Mm.
If any game deserves to be on the system now, I mean, the game's been re-released a few times on virtual consoles and things like that, but there are still way too many people who haven't played Super Metroid and need to play it. So please, that would be my number 1.
That is a great choice. And for me, I would choose Secret of Mana. I've actually
Nice.
never played it. I feel really bad because I've heard so much good things about this game. So that would be my top choice to have on SNES Classic.
All right, Sergio. Yeah,
Nice.
I know you gave back your 4 choices, but you still got to make them, dude.
Yeah, no problem. So number 2 would be Star Fox, a classic.
Hey,
Yes.
okay. All right.
Always
There
a
you
fun
go.
time. Yes. So not too sure about Star Fox 2. I played it on the SNES Mini,
It's weird.
but I mean for sure. Oh yeah. No, I actually kind of like it because I know it's like in command for
I
the
like
DS.
it too, but it's weird.
Mm.
Space
But-
dragons. Yeah.
The first Star Fox, it's always a classic. Always.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Again, obvious choice. Super Mario World. Have to.
Nice.
Probably my favorite actual 2D Mario game, and my favorite style in Mario Maker. So there you go.
Nice.
Nice. Good stuff. I'm going to go with Kirby Superstar. That was actually the first Kirby game I've ever played. I was so obsessed to a point where I actually brought the instruction manual to school and I'd show it off to my friends. I don't know why I did that, but I was so obsessed with this damn game. And I was talking about how you can like swallow things and people and all that, or not people, well, characters, and just be able to, take away their powers or pretty much learn their powers and be able to use them. And I don't I don't know why I was so obsessed back then, but I just thought it was such a nice, charming pink fluffer ball of just awesomeness. I don't even know if fluffer ball is actually a word, but
no.
If it is, we'll make it a word today. But yeah, Kirby Superstar. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So next one on my list is gonna be Super Punch Out.
Ooh.
Oh, good choice.
There we go.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know. For some reason, I would gravitate more towards the original, but for sure, like whenever I play Super Punch, it's like, oh yeah, this one is also a lot of fun.
Nice.
Apparently I'm Captain Obvious on this one. Zelda: Link to the Past. So
Ooh.
it has to be on there. And
yes.
honestly, it's not my favorite Zelda game, but it has to be on there because it set the groundwork for what Ocarina was gonna be. And
yes.
I mean, you can easily form an argument around how it's the best 2D Zelda. Either that or Link's Awakening pretty much have to take that one, I think. I don't know. Great game. So there you go.
Nice. I'm going to go with Final Fantasy 2 or Final Fantasy 4.
Oh, I did not expect you to pick that one.
I would. And I really would want to play it again. I think even though it's not my favorite Final Fantasy, it's still one of my favorite, just top 20 games. I just love the story of, Cecil going through his journey from dark to light, that sort of spiel with his transformation and the characters. I mean, Kain, like his dragoon sort of self, and all that. Going back and forth, his love for Rosa. I'm gonna go in the spoilers. I don't want to do that anymore. So,
by far my favorite. Let me think on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. My favorite RPG, like just period, flat out. That's it.
And it is a very solid choice for that. So, Final Fantasy 2. Excuse me, Final Fantasy 4.
If it's Super Nintendo, it actually is Final Fantasy 2. So there you go.
That is true. Yeah.
Right. Next one for me is gonna be Yoshi's Island.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the other obvious one. I think I was gonna.
I mean, the music alone, it is my favorite Yoshi game. It's one of my favorite Mario games if we kind of include them in the mix.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I played that so many times and loved it every time.
Legitimately, that would have been my next one. Gonna go slight curveball here. Mega Man X, probably X2, I would say.
Nice.
Just the Mega Man X series, I think, is the best way to play Mega Man, to be honest. So, and those two are excellent. 4 is my favorite in the series, but I think I'm probably in the minority there. So definitely X or X2, whichever one. It doesn't matter.
I still have to play those games, so gosh, I need to catch up. But nice. I mean, this is coming. Super Mario Kart, like with multiplayer. Hell yeah! Oh my goodness.
I was wondering if you were gonna forget to leave it on your list.
No, I'm not forgetting
after
this one.
After the last conversation.
I was like, Kevin, are you gonna include it? Yeah, no, I'm definitely including this one. I mean, it's a prominent game in my life. It's a prominent series in all video game history. So, SMK all day. Yeah.
Super Mortal Kombat. All right, Sergio, you're number 5.
Yeah.
Nice. So I want a fighting game. I don't play those much often. So my first choice would be Mortal Kombat 2, but I think Killer Instinct would be more likely.
I actually like Killer Instinct a lot. I don't know. It's a silly game. That's a good choice.
Good stuff.
I'm gonna go with the. Goodness, this gets hard in a hurry here. I'm gonna go with Mario RPG, and I think
yes,
it has to be included just as probably one of the other favorite RPGs in my book. I think it's a wonderful game, so I think it has to be on there. Let's go to 7 each. Let's actually do the top 20 because this is getting too hard.
Yeah, we're gonna go top 7. So my 5th choice would be Mario Paint. I've never actually played it.
Oh.
I've seen videos of it from Angry Video Game Nerd and other prominent YouTube people, and it's just I just like the fact that you're able to just paint on as a game and be able to create your music in different stylized, Super Mario sort of icons and all that from different characters. I mean, it's pretty nice, so I would definitely go with that. Mario Paint. Yeah.
Nice. Next one on my list, The Lost Vikings.
Oh, interesting choice.
Yeah, I just really remember liking it. Like, it was one of those like thinking puzzle games, and it's probably I think it's one of the first that I played in that genre, and I really liked it.
Nice.
I think I have to throw in Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Pretty much
Nice.
any variation on it. Just to serve, like, there were definitely 2 different styles of fighting games, and I think you do best if you include them both. So yeah, Street Fighter.
Yes, for sure.
Da, 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 da.
We could do that.
We could, but the next game has nothing to do with Street Fighter for me. It's Harvest Moon. I've actually never played Harvest Moon before. And
2 games that you haven't played on your must-have list. Neat.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that it's ridiculous. It's a game
it's fine if you want it on the system. That's great. That's a great reason to have it on the system, actually.
Yeah, because I want to, I don't want to miss out on this again. So I think Harvest Moon would be awesome, and especially coming from playing Stardew Valley on both PC and on the Switch. Like, I mean, why not? Like, gotta go play the game that started it all. So, Farm Sim, hell yeah! So that's my game.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
My last pick is gonna be the original Donkey Kong Country.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So why that one over 2 is my only question.
I guess because that's the one I rented. I did play 2 a little bit, but I played the first one way more. I know they're both really good though, and even 3, I would say that one was okay.
Yeah, 3 gets a lot of hate, but I actually liked it.
Yeah,
I like 3. I really liked. I mean, it was just. Goodness. I can't choose a favorite between the Donkey Kong countries, but I mean, I like them all equally. So.
Well, I mean, I think this is one of those weird series is that I actually think the modern ones are better than the old ones. So I think Tropical Freeze is the best one at this point.
Right.
But of the classic ones, probably 2 for me, but they're all very close. They're all very, very close. So that was mostly just me being curious. Okay, last pick is super hard here. Let's go to 10. No, I'm kidding.
Oh man.
All right, I'm gonna give it to Earthbound, and we've already got a lot of RPGs on there, so I'm not sure I want to do that again. But Earthbound is this strange, quirky, nostalgic game that I've talked about before, and I think it definitely deserves its place in Nintendo history, and I think it needs to be preserved.
Yes,
definitely, good choice. And I thought about F-Zero. I'm not gonna choose it. I'm sorry.
That's surprising.
Wow.
I am not. that's right. You heard it on this episode.
But you did put its sequel on there, so you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. I mean, it counts.
I'm never gonna let that die.
Oh, I know. But it was a close one to my 7th pick would be Chrono Trigger. I mean,
okay.
That gotta have that RPG. I mean, it was way ahead of its time. The music, the characters, the battle sequences, Secret of the Forest, that one piece that I really, really like, and man, it's a gem. It has to be on the SNES Classic. It just has to be. If it's not, I don't know, but something's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm just gonna be sad. It just gotta be.
Yeah, there you go, Shell. You asked for 20 games, we gave you 21. So there you go.
I'm going with a question by Shy Guy. Shy Guy asks, you have to get a gaming-related tattoo on your arm so that it's easily seen while you wear a t-shirt. What do you get and why?
I really hoped you would go with this one.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
Hey, Kevin, go ahead.
Oh, man. Oh, okay. Wow. Dang, that is Whew, boy. I mean, gosh, that is really hard. You know what? Just on the top of my head, I'm gonna go with the Blue Falcon.
Oh
In
wow, okay.
an angle with my favorite number.
Despite the famous snub of the Blue Falcon from the SNES Online system, no, we are good. We're actually going with the tattoo there.
I'm gonna go with it because, yeah, and it's stunning, it's sweet, it's slick, but I wouldn't get it in that blue. It would be a different kind of blue, like maybe different shades of blue, and like it's as if it were part one with the ocean. And then I thought about this. You would I thought about it for the last 10 seconds, but it would be.
Hey, that's enough for a Blue Falcon tattoo. Book it.
It would. So it would have my favorite number 2, and it would have more of an ocean theme as the, just the whole hovercraft look, and it would hover over an ocean and would have just waves just coming left and right, and and it would be pixelated just enough so that it's like, oh wow, that harkens back to SNES days.
Fancy.
Yeah, and then that's all I got. So that's what I went out.
Okay. and then I'm done. Okay. Didn't quite get that one, but sure.
Yeah, there we go.
For me, like, speaking honestly, if it has to be visible, and it has to be visible if I'm wearing a shirt, it is very, very hard for me not to choose a Triforce on the back of the right hand. It would be extremely hard not to do that.
Whoa, 1 second. Right hand?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm right-handed, so whatever.
No.
Oh, right, because Link is left-handed.
Yeah.
Yes. And that actually makes me wonder what he is in Breath of the Wild.
That is an interesting call. So it's weird because it seems to be on your dominant hand. You actually made me look this up, so thanks, I guess. But so it is on Link, according to the Smash Melee intro. It is on Link's left hand, Zelda's right hand, and Ganon's right hand. So take your pick, I guess. I don't know. So whatever. Anyways, it would be very hard to not pick that. If I wasn't gonna go with that, I would have to go with, if I was ever actually gonna get a tattoo, I would want it to mean something. Which honestly the Triforce kind of would, but
yes.
If not that, then I would want to get something from a game that actually like meant something important, and then you're talking things like Celeste, maybe a strawberry somewhere, or
ooh, that'd be good,
or maybe even like one of the actual characters or something in the pixel format, or there's a few things here and there. A crystal from Final Fantasy would be way up there for the. This is a very Final Fantasy friendly show. That would be way up there too. Just something like that, as to kind of serve as a reminder of something positive. I think, I think probably Triforce. because I'm a top tier nerd here. Yep.
Shout out to nerds. Shout out to all the nerds. You got 3 right here. And I mean, it's all good, and I think that's a great choice, Triforce. I had a feeling you might choose that one just because I know how much you love the Legend of Zelda series. So kudos to you.
Famously called it my favorite video game series, and I'll back that one up.
There we go.
Nice. I remember growing up as a Zelda fan, like a huge Zelda fan, also wanting a Triforce, but on the back of my left hand. But you know what? You make a good point. There are right-handed Links, and I guess it just depends on what the story calls for. Typical Nintendo answer. But I am left-handed, so yeah. If that was back then, though. Now, yeah, it has to be KK Slider.
Yeah,
fair enough.
If I'm getting a KK Slider tattoo, I'm going all out, and I'm getting like 30 or so.
What?
Or I can also tattoo
30?
my eyebrows to look like him.
Oh
wow. Okay.
Dang, that is okay. You know what?
If I have to.
Okay. I mean, you are the number 1 KK Slider fan in the world, undisputed. I'm calling it right now.
Oh, I have to prove it now.
You gotta prove it. I mean, you have a book. You have a you have an album of pictures from Animal Crossing. I mean, there is no one I know in the world that has this. So I mean, by default, number one KK Slider fan. Wow, yeah, tattoos. I mean, there you go. Those are our choices.
All right, so look for pictures of those next week. Should be pretty fun. We will post those in the Discord for anybody interested, and we definitely encourage our listeners to participate in that. Go get some tattoos, guys. Please don't get tattoos. This is not actually happening, guys.
Well, yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, what Daryl said.
We got to that point. I think it's time to wrap the show.
Yeah,
Sergio, save us.
Well, it is time to jump out of here. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, you may want to join our Discord group to see the pictures of our tattoos next week.
And share your own.
There we go.
There's a link to it in the description of this episode. You can also follow us on social media. We are on Twitter and on Instagram as Nintendo Jump. We also have a Facebook group. And as always, our episodes are on YouTube. Feel free to leave us a comment about anything we discussed today or any topics that you may want us to hit in one of our upcoming episodes. We also take your feedback via social media or via email at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, the best way to do so is through our Patreon. That's patreon.com/NintendoJump. And the next best way to support our show would be by leaving us a review on your podcast application of choice. We would really appreciate it. Once again, this is Sergio, and on behalf of Daryl and Kevin, thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Yeah, see you.
It's gonna sound super weird with the music playing.
Yeah. Just go with it.
Nice.